Hello friends, welcome back. In this particular video session, we will be discussing the very important planar chromatographic technique, that is HPTLC. Now, we have already studied the thin layer chromatography, that is also the conventional planar chromatographic technique. Now, if we are going to atomize the thin layer chromatography with some modernized instrumentation, then we can improvise the performance in terms of accuracy. We can consider it as high performance thin layer chromatography. Now, what is the basic difference between our conventional TLC and HPTLC? Now, first we will see the layer thickness. Now we know the stationary phase is coated on some supporting material like glass, alumina or plastic. Now the thickness of stationary phase or supporting material in case of our conventional TLC is usually between 0.2 to 0.25 mm, whereas in case of HPTLC we can still minimize the thickness. We can make thinner coating of stationary phase ranging from 0.1 to 0.2 mm. As we can decrease the thickness of stationary phase, what will happen ultimately, the speed of analysis will improvise. When we talk about the efficiency compared to HPTLC, TLC is a less efficient, whereas HPTLC is highly efficient due to the smaller particle size. So even not only the stationary phase is finely coated, the thickness is very fine, or it is less than what we have in TLC, but also the particle size of the stationary phase is even smaller. When we look about the separation, usually in case of TLC experiment we require 10 to 15 centimeter plate height, whereas in case of HPTLC we can take the plates of 5 to 7 centimeter. Analysis time is quite slower in case of TLC, that is again due to the particle size and the thickness of the stationary phase, whereas in case of HPTLC the migration time is very fast and we can speed up the analysis. When we compare the kind of stationary phase we can coat on the supporting material, we have very limited scope in case of TLC like silica, alumina and Kesselgar, whereas in case of HPTLC we have wide choices of stationary phases like silica. Then we can also use the reverse phase modes, like we can use C18, we can use C8 or C4 and so on. So here the reverse phase chromatographic experiment is much easier to perform in case of HPTLC. When we talk about the developing chamber, because of the higher dimensions of plate and greater thickness, we require more amount of mobile phase or the solvent system. Even the chamber size is also greater, whereas in case of HPTLC the solvent consumption is small and the dimension of the chromatographic chamber can also be minimized. Then coming to the sample spotting, usually the TLC is used for qualitative analysis, and to some extent with a particular concentration we can also use the TLC for quantitative analysis. But usually in TLC we need to spot our samples manually, which create the problem in quantification. Whereas in case of HPTLC, due to the availability of autosampler, we can spot the sample very accurately on a TLC plate, which makes our quantitative analysis in a very reproducible manner. When we talk about the scanning, we have the limited scope to scan the TLC plate in situ, whereas in case of HPTLC we have wide choices of the scanning devices like UV visible, then fluorescent scanner, densitometer, which are available online in the instrument, which makes quantitative analysis as well as qualitative analysis quite comfortable and easier. Now when we talk about the other point of difference with respect to sample volume. So usually in TLC we spot 1 to 10 microliter of sample on the TLC plate, whereas in case of HPTLC we can spot even lesser than 5 microliter, or it is in between 0.1 to 5 microliter. The reason is because we have superior detection methods in case of HPTLC. When we talk about the spot size, here usually the spots are applied in the form of 3 to 6 mm size or the diameter of the spot, and they are usually applied in a circular manner, whereas in case of HPTLC you can spot the sample with dimension 1 to 2 mm. Because the less amount of sample and less dimension of the spot, the TLC plate of size 20 by 20 centimeter can accommodate 40 to 50 sample spots on one particular plate, whereas the same plate can accommodate only 15 to 20 number of spots in case of TLC. That is due to the dimension of the spot and the volume of the spot. When we talk about the detection limits, the TLC can detect the sample from 5 to 100 nanograms. So that is the limit of detection here, and in case of HPTLC even we can go beyond 5 nanogram. It is usually in range of 0.5 to 5 nanogram. If it is observing or detecting the spot with the fluorescence mechanism, in case of TLC we have 0.1 to 1 nanogram, whereas in case of HPTLC it is 0.01 to 1 nanogram. So all these differences makes HPTLC as a unique and very friendly and accurate method of analysis for qualitative as well as quantitative estimation. Now HPTLC is not only superior to that of the TLC, but it is also better than HPLC in some of the cases. Now why we have to prefer HPTLC over HPLC, we can discuss point wise. So first is a simultaneous processing. Now in case of HPLC we know simultaneous processing of sample and standard is not possible, because we can inject the sample only one at a time. So if I want to inject sample, I have to inject sample first. Once the sample gets elute, it shows the baseline, then only we can inject the standard or the next sample. Okay, so that will ultimately increase the time of analysis. Whereas in case of HPTLC, the simultaneous processing of sample as well as standard under the similar condition is possible, and because of this similar condition we have the higher precision and accuracy, and it does not require the internal standard which is required in case of HPLC. When we talk about the flexibility, obviously in HPLC we have limited flexibility, but in case of HPTLC we have extreme flexibility in various steps. Now considering operating skills, we have already discussed the HPLC technique, so it is quite complicated, required lot of sophistication, and you require to have the skill to operate the instrument and to optimize various parameters. In case of HPTLC, it requires very little amount of skill compared to operating the HPLC. Now when we talk about the high sample throughput, obviously in case of HPLC, even with total automation, it cannot be competing with the HPTLC in terms of sample output in a given particular time. HPTLC has very high sample throughput in a similar or different nature of sample, hence lower analysis time and less cost per analysis makes HPTLC superior over the HPLC. When we talk about the cost, obviously HPLC is costly due to the various parameters which need to be maintained during the experiment. In case of HPTLC, comparatively the cost of analysis is less. When we talk about the sample preparation, we have seen in case of HPLC the sample preparation is very critical and it is very laborious. It is time consuming and require membrane filtration to remove any particulate matter if it has. In addition, it also requires the sample pretreatment and solvent pretreatment like degassing or filtration online or offline using various degassers, which is not at all applicable in case of HPTLC as far as the sample is concerned as well as the solvent system is concerned. When we talk about the sample application, normally fixed volume is selected or injected with a particular sample injector, and we can have manual as well as the automatic injection. Whereas in case of HPTLC, the variable volume can be applied and the sample can be applied in form of spot or in form of bands, and again manual as well as automatic injection is possible. Then solvent grade I have already told. In case of HPLC, we require the HPLC grade solvents, and in case of HPTLC we require the simple analytical grade solvents. Now what are the advantages offered by the HPTLC? HPTLC is fairly simple, it is inexpensive, it is very rapid, it is extremely flexible, and it is visual method. So most of the times we can visualize the sample. We need not to have very sophisticated detectors like what we have in case of HPLC. Now there is a standard operating procedure to operate the HPTLC. Now plate material and labeling. Now usually in case of HPTLC we use commercially available pre-coated HPTLC plates of usually size in 20 by 10 or 10 by 10 centimeter, and these plates can have the unique codes by which we can identify these plates and we can photo document it. We can write project number, year, month and all those details which are required. The parameters for sample preparation. Usually in case of HPTLC, the sample is applied in the form of bands, and the sample is applied in such a way that the tip of the needle is not going to touch to the surface of the stationary phase. It is just going near to the stationary phase, and the sample is sprayed with the help of some inert gas like nitrogen. Then we can give the detailed description of the development, the dimensions, chamber saturation, the humidity control and so on. And if required, if the samples are not getting detected in the normal condition, we can do the derivatization using various chemical reagents. We can also use the densitometry, especially for doing the quantitative estimation at multiple wavelength scan or scanning at its lambda max. And the digital documentation is possible, which is very mandatory and required for the industrial application. So what are the steps involved in HPTLC? It involves the similar steps as that what we have in case of our conventional TLC. So first we need to select the chromatographic layer, that is a stationary phase. So usually based on our sample we select the stationary phase. Then we need to prepare the sample and standard. Then we have to wash the layer of the stationary phase if required, then preconditioning if required, then application of sample and standard. Then we have to develop the plates. Then after development we have to detect the spots, and the detected spots can be scanned and then it can be documented for our record. Now coming to the selection of the chromatographic layer, pre-coated plates, they have different supporting material, and the silica is very widely used adsorbing material on the alumina sheets as a stationary phase. So usually we use silica gel GF, and this G is the gypsum which acts as a binder, and this F stands for the fluorescent material. Now 80% of the analysis is usually done with the silica gel GF. Now selection of chromatographic layer or the adsorbent is based on mainly the nature of the sample. So if you have alkaloids, steroids or basic substances, usually we prefer the aluminum oxide. If you have amino acids, dipeptides, sugars and alkaloids, we prefer the cellulose as a adsorbent. And as I told you, we can also do conveniently the reverse phase chromatography, where the stationary phase is non-polar in nature, and if we have non-polar substances as a sample like fatty acids, carotenoids, cholesterol, we can use RP2, RP8 and RP18 kind of stationary phases. This RP indicates the reverse phase, and these numbers 2, 8 and 18 indicates the number of carbon atoms in this particular stationary phase. If we have preservatives, barbiturates, analgesic and phenothiazines, we can use the hybrid plates. Now, what is activation of pre-coated plates? Freshly opened boxes of plates do not require activation. So usually the HPTLC box comes in a multiple plates. So in a one particular box we may have around 20 to 25 plates. So if you are freshly opening the box, you do not require any activation. But if you have already opened the box and you are utilizing those plates, now those plates might have exposed to the high humidity, or if you are using for long time, then you need to activate it. Now activation is nothing but removal of moisture which is adsorbed on the surface material or the sorbent. So what we need to do, we have to take these plates and we have to put in oven for at least 30 minutes prior to spotting at 110 to 120 degrees Celsius. Now aluminum sheets should be kept in between two glass plates, and we have to keep it for only 15 minutes at 110 to 120 degrees Celsius. So comparatively here the activation time is less compared to the silica gel. Now sample and standard preparation. So we have to avoid the interference from impurities and water vapors. In that manner we have to prepare our sample as well as standard. As far as possible, we have to maintain the signal to noise ratio. We have to dry the plates and store in dust free atmosphere. So next point is a sample application or standard application. So we have seen usually the concentration range is 0.1 to 1 microgram per microliter is the concentration of sample what we need to spot, and above this concentration usually there is a poor separation. Now this is the highly sophisticated and very recent auto sampler which is used for spotting our samples and standard. So all these images are taken from the CAMAC, which is a leading manufacturer globally, which manufactures and provide the support for all these HPTLC equipments. Now sample can be applied as a bands or spots or rectangles. So in case of TLC we apply the spots in a circular fashion, but in this case usually we prefer the sample application in the form of bands. Now why we prefer the sample application in the form of bands? Because after development of these samples on a plate, we need to scan those samples usually with a densitometer, and this densitometer is highly responsive when you have the spots which are separating in the form of bands. Now coming to the mobile phase. So mobile phase is a solvent or the solvent mixture moving through the stationary phase on the HPTLC plate during the development. So this mobile phase should be chosen taking into consideration the chemical properties of analyte and the sorbent layers. So use of mobile phase containing more than 3 or 4 components should be avoided, as it often difficult to get the reproducible ratios of these different components. Okay. Now the mobile phase evaporates before the derivatization. That is an advantage, because if we want to do some derivatization with chemical reagents, So if mobile phase is present, then that will have the problem in the reaction. But we are choosing a mobile phase in such a way that it can easily evaporate from the stationary phase. It will not interfere with the determination of the position of the solute, and smaller volume of mobile phase is usually preferred. So the selection of mobile phase is again based on trial and error, and we have to use our own experience and the literature search. So usually we know what is normal phase. It is a phase in which stationary phase is polar and mobile phase is non-polar. So in normal phase, we know non-polar compounds are usually eluted faster than the polar one, and the reverse phase is exactly opposite to that, where stationary phase is non-polar and the mobile phase is polar, and hence polar compounds will be eluted first because of the poor affinity with the stationary phase. And as we discussed, we usually discourage the use of 3 or more number of solvents in a preparation of mobile phase. Now these are the different solvents with its polarity index, starting with 0.1 to 10.2. So here the polarity index will represent the polarity of the solvent. Now if I consider, for example, N-hexane, which is considered to be highly nonpolar, that have the polarity index of 0.1. Whereas on the other hand, if you consider water, which is highly polar, that is having the polarity index of 10.2. So usually the polarity index is ranging from 0 to 10. So higher the polarity index, the more polar solvent is. Okay. Now we have to select the solvent system according to the nature of the sample based on our own experience and literature. We can play with these solvents, and we can use a best combination which is suitable for resolving our compounds into individual fractions with a appropriate RF value. Again, when we prepare the solvent system, we also need to see the miscibility of each of these solvents. They should be miscible, as the mobile phase is a homogeneous solution. Now what is preconditioning or the chamber saturation? Now chamber saturation is another important step even in case of HPTLC like TLC. Now we need to saturate our chamber with the solvent system vapors, so that the migration of a solvent will be uniform over the surface of the stationary phase, and it will also lead to a better separation of our spots. It will also give the reproducible RF values. So we need to prepare the mobile phase, and we have to pour in a solvent chamber, and we have to wait for 30 minutes so that the vapors of the mobile phase will occupy the inner space of the solvent system, inner space of the developing chamber. Now once we saturate the chamber, we have to put our plate into the chamber. So these are the specially designed twin trough chamber. So at the bottom we can see there is a twin trough. So this twin trough chamber is designed in such a way that it will require very less amount of mobile phase, and it has the tight lid on its upper part, so that it will not allow the solvent vapors to evaporate. And this is the equipment, which is again a sophisticated equipment which is very much useful for accurate preparation of the mobile phase. So we can program the solvent system what we want to prepare, in what ratio we want to prepare, and we can put the solvent system in the bottles, and we can program the system. It will take out the solvent from each of the bottle, and it will mix in a particular bottle in a particular ratio what we require. So usually in our manual TLC, what we do, we individually pipette out these solvents, and there could be a personal error. The volume will not be exact, and during the transport of bottle from here and there or the solvent system, the ratio is not maintained, which ultimately affect the reproducibility of the experiment. So that can be taken care by these instruments. So we can use a vacuum desiccator then we avoid usually the hair dryer, and then the essential oil components usually may evaporate during this, and we can avoid the contamination. Then after development we can remove the plate that we have already discussed. Then this is again a modern detector which usually scan the developed plates, and it will detect and identify what spots we have developed. So usually the preferred method for detecting the spot is seeing the plates under UV light. That is the first choice, because this will not destroy our sample. We can recover the sample if we require. And the spots can also be detected under the fluorescence. Usually we prefer the two wavelengths. One is at 254 nanometer, which is considered as a short wavelength, and other one is at 366 nanometer, which is considered as a longer wavelength. Now spots of non-fluorescent compound can also be seen with fluorescent stationary phase, that is silica gel GF. So in this case what happens, we already have the fluorescent material. Now when we are observing under the UV light, the fluorescent material which is already mixed in silica will show the fluorescence, and the non-UV active compound which has been separated on the stationary phase will remain dark. And that is how we can identify even the non-UV active compounds utilizing the silica gel GF as the stationary phase. Now this is again the device which is developed by the CAMAC. This is for the derivatization. Now usually in case of TLC we manually do the derivatization, which again creates some problem in reproducibility. So here we have the auto derivatizer. Now what we do for the compounds like ethambutol, dicyclomine, etc., the dipping of plate in 0.1 iodine solution can be feasible, and it can work out to identify those spots. When individual component does not respond to UV, then we require the derivatization. So this derivatization can be done in the figure. What we have shown, that particular instrument, we can use it for the derivatization. So sample and standard should be chromatographed on same plate, and after development the chromatogram can be scanned for the quantification. So we have CAMAC TLC 3 scanner, what I have shown you in the earlier slide, and this CAMAC scanner can scan the chromatogram in reflectance or in transmittance mode, by absorbance or by the fluorescent mode. Scanning speed is selectable up to 100 mm per second, and spectral recording is very fast. 36 tracks with up to 100 peak windows can be evaluated, and it also gives the statistics such as the relative standard deviation or the confidence of interval report automatically, which is again mandatory for the validation parameters. Concentration of analyte in the sample is calculated by considering the sample initially taken and the dilution factor, from which we can ultimately find out the concentration in the original sample. Now next is a documentation. So nowadays we have very strict guidelines, and we require to have the analytical method validation, and whatever we analyze need to be documented and it should be stored. So the eMark, which is again a leading manufacturing company which manufactures the HPTLC and TLC plate, has introduced the imprinted identification code, which is considered as a unique code to identify a particular plate, which can have the supplier name, item number, batch number, individual plate number, which ultimately avoid the manipulation of data. And these are the coded plates, and all these things will be done automatically, and we can take the pictures of these developed plate and we can document it. This documentation is usually required as per the ICH guidelines to assess various parameters like precision, accuracy, limit of detection, limit of quantification, ruggedness, and so on. And then we can also have the author contact information. Then coming to handling of plates, So plate material handle plates with extreme caution to avoid any damage to the layer, because I told you comparatively the HPTLC plates, the sorbent material or the coating is very fine, even it is less than 0.25 mm. So we have to handle these plates very gently, delicately, so that the layer should not get disturbed. We have to store the plates in original package with the lid closed. Then we have to remove the plate from storage only immediately to prior to use, or before we are performing experiment we have to take out the plates from the box. Plates are generally handled only at the upper edge to avoid the contamination. Unless otherwise necessary, Merck HPTLC silica gel 60F 254 in format 10 by 10 or by 20 by 10 centimeters are used. For most work, plates are used without pre-treatment unless chromatography produces any impurities in the front due to the contamination of the plate. For reproducibility studies and quantitative analysis, plates are pre-washed. Then we can do the development. So these developmental techniques are same as that of the thin layer chromatography. Then derivatization, I told you we can derivatize the compounds which have been separated on the stationary phase, which are not detected under the UV light. So either by spraying or dipping the plate in the chamber with the chemical reagent can be possible, manually or automatically. So in the previous slides I have shown you the derivatizer which has the auto spray system, and you have to just put your plates and then it will automatically derivatize with a particular reagent and the spots can be identified. Then the last point, that is the applications of TLC, application of HPTLC. So the HPTLC have very wide applications compared to TLC because of its modernization and it has a great reproducibility. So in pharmaceuticals we have its application in quality control, impurity identification, bioequivalence studies, stability testing, etc. In food analysis also we use for stability testing, again for quality checks, then adulterant determination and so on. Clinical applications are also there. We can use it in a metabolism study, screening of drugs, etc. Industrial application in the process development and optimization. Forensic investigation we do use. Then biomedical analysis, then environmental analysis in cosmeceuticals, and HPTLC is widely used in herbal drugs, Ayurvedic products and natural products. And HPTLC is also used for fingerprint analysis for the identifying a particular components. So we do compare the developed chromatograms of a particular sample which have been done under identical condition, and we can match those chromatograms pattern with the available pattern, and then we can compare and we can identify the possible compounds. So this is all about HPTLC. Thank you all of you.